Welcome to our Trump Briefing Show. Today, we're diving into some hot international and local news. First up, Canada is taking its time to respond to the U.S. doubling tariffs on steel and aluminum, an escalating trade dispute that could shake both economies. Prime Minister Carney calls the tariffs unlawful and warns they might hurt American industries too. Meanwhile, Canada's considering its options, as tariffs on U.S. goods reach a staggering $90 billion. Next, in the Middle East, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, isn't backing down from its nuclear ambitions. He firmly rejects the US's recent proposals, insisting Iran will continue enriching uranium to maintain its independence. Despite ongoing talks, Iran emphasizes its sovereign right to nuclear energy, while the US wants a different approach. Tensions remain high as both sides stand firm. And on the local front, Durham County is adopting Elon Musk's style of government efficiency by launching a high-tech audit of its spending. Led by Reform UK, this team of engineers and data analysts will scrutinize budgets using AI and forensic tools to find waste and boost transparency. It's all about making sure taxpayer money is used wisely, starting with Kent County Council. Please continue to watch for more details. The Toronto Star reports that Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has indicated that Canada will need some time to formulate a response to the United States' recent decision to double tariffs on steel and aluminum imports. The tariffs, which increased to 50%, were justified by President Donald Trump as necessary for national security, but Carney condemned them as unlawful and harmful to both American and Canadian industries. Canada, which is the largest supplier of steel to the U.S., has already retaliated with tariffs on $90 billion worth of U.S. goods, and discussions are ongoing but are expected to take some time as Canada carefully considers its options amid the broader context of a complex trade relationship. CNN highlights Iran's unwavering stance against U.S. proposals aimed at curbing its nuclear program. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei fiercely rejected U.S. demands, asserting that Iran will continue enriching uranium and maintain its nuclear independence. Despite the U.S. offering potential involvement in Iran's civilian nuclear activities through a consortium involving Middle Eastern nations and the IAEA, Iran remains resolute, dismissing the proposal as incoherent and unrealistic. Khamenei emphasized Iran's achievement of a complete nuclear energy cycle, asserting that uranium enrichment is vital to Iran's nuclear identity, and rejected U.S. interference, underscoring the country's commitment to sovereignty amid ongoing negotiations that have yet to yield a breakthrough. The BBC reports that Durham County Council is embarking on a Musk-inspired overhaul aimed at scrutinizing and reducing wasteful spending. Under the leadership of Reform UK, a dedicated team of engineers, data analysts, and forensic auditors will analyze local government expenditure, starting with Kent County Council. The initiative draws inspiration from Elon Musk's U.S. Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, designed to increase transparency and ensure taxpayer money is allocated effectively. The project will utilize artificial intelligence and advanced data analysis to evaluate contracts, capital expenditures, and financial reserves, with the goal of identifying inefficiencies. Durham's leader emphasizes a cautious approach, prioritizing transparency and thorough data review before making any drastic changes, especially given current budget constraints. According to the Associated Press, a federal investigation uncovered that a Texas hospital violated the law by repeatedly discharging Kylie Thurman, a woman suffering from a dangerous ectopic pregnancy, without providing adequate care. Despite clear signs of her condition, the hospital sent her home with only a pamphlet on miscarriage, leading to a rupture that necessitated emergency surgery and the removal of part of her reproductive system. The investigation revealed that the hospital failed to perform proper medical screening and violated federal emergency treatment laws, highlighting the peril women face under Texas's strict abortion bans. Thurman expressed her frustration and blamed the state's policies for her suffering, emphasizing the unpredictable and deadly nature of pregnancy complications that can occur to anyone, regardless of the legality of abortion in their state. The Toronto Star reports that the Trump administration's revocation of the Biden-era guidance requiring hospitals to provide emergency abortions has cast doubt on the federal oversight meant to protect women in medical crises. This shift comes amid widespread reports of women being denied necessary care due to restrictive laws, especially in states like Texas where performing an abortion could result in decades-long prison sentences. The case of Thurman exemplifies the dangerous consequences of such policies, where her untreated ectopic pregnancy led to life-threatening complications. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services announced it would enforce laws requiring hospitals to stabilize patients with urgent medical conditions, but questions remain whether investigations into hospital compliance will continue if they refuse to perform emergency abortions, leaving vulnerable women at increased risk. The Toronto Star also highlights broader political and economic issues, including the U.S. Congress's ongoing debate over President Trump's proposed tax cuts and spending reductions, which could increase the number of Americans without health insurance by nearly 11 million. Meanwhile, in Canada, the Bank of Canada maintained its interest rate at 2.75% amid trade uncertainties caused by U.S. tariffs, particularly on steel and aluminum, which threaten to slow economic growth. The global political landscape is further complicated by diplomatic tensions, such as the US and EU negotiations over tariffs and trade, and the absence of the US Defense Secretary from a crucial NATO meeting on Ukraine aid. These developments underscore a period of economic caution and geopolitical tension, with policies and conflicts at home and abroad shaping the future stability and well-being of millions. The Associated Press details an extraordinary scientific expedition into the heart of severe hailstorms across the Great Plains, where researchers are driving into the storm shafts with specially equipped vehicles to study the formation and impact of hail. This groundbreaking effort, funded largely by the National Science Foundation, aims to better understand hail's destructive power, which costs the United States around $10 billion annually in damages to roofs, cars, and crops. The team collects hailstones of various sizes, some as large as cantaloupes, using innovative tools like pristine hail funnels and impact measurement pads, while deploying radars, drones, and weather balloons to capture comprehensive storm data. Scientists like Victor Gensini emphasize that as climate change intensifies, larger hailstones are likely to become more frequent, potentially increasing damage and insurance costs, making this research critical for future mitigation strategies. Deutsche Welle reports on German Chancellor Friedrich Merz's high-stakes first visit to Washington, where he aims to strengthen transatlantic ties amid complex geopolitical tensions. Merz, a confident and assertive leader, seeks to persuade U.S. President Donald Trump, who has a personal history with Merz's family, to reaffirm commitment to European security and cooperation. Key issues on the agenda include the war in Ukraine, trade disputes, and European defense capabilities, especially Germany's pledge to boost military spending to 5% of GDP. While Merz hopes to foster a united front against Russian aggression and prevent escalating tariffs, analysts like Carlo Massala remain skeptical about the durability of U.S.-European cooperation, especially given the unpredictable U.S. stance on Ukraine and the possibility of Trump withdrawing from negotiations altogether. Merz's diplomatic effort underscores Europe's desire to assume more responsibility for its security and economic stability, even as global uncertainties loom. The Independent highlights the volatile and often incendiary landscape of U.S. politics surrounding the Ukraine conflict, with Steve Bannon leading calls to arrest or exile Senator Lindsey Graham over his diplomatic activities in Kyiv. Bannon, a staunch Trump loyalist, has publicly accused Graham of stirring it up by advocating for increased sanctions and military support for Ukraine, asserting that such actions threaten to entangle the U.S. in a broader war. Bannon's relentless rhetoric includes threats to revoke Graham's passport or imprison him, framing his diplomatic trip as a dangerous provocation. This intense inter-party conflict reflects deeper divisions over U.S. foreign policy, where figures like Bannon argue for a more isolationist stance and criticize perceived neoconservative meddling, highlighting the ongoing chaos and polarization that define America's approach to international conflicts and domestic political struggles. The Independent reports on the critical situation surrounding lenacapavir, a groundbreaking HIV prevention drug, which has shown remarkable efficacy in clinical trials, up to 96% reduction in HIV infections, especially among women and adolescent girls, yet faces an uncertain future due to U.S. aid cuts. Professor Linda Gale Becker, who led the trial, describes her initial emotional reaction to the results, now replaced by despair as funding from the U.S.-led PEPFAR program and the Global Fund falters amid political turmoil. Although Gilead and other pharmaceutical companies are prepared to produce generic versions to lower costs, the lack of guaranteed funding threatens to halt the distribution of these life-saving doses to at least 2 million people worldwide, potentially reversing progress in ending AIDS. The drug, a biannual injectable akin to a vaccine, offers a discreet and effective alternative to daily pills, especially for vulnerable groups like young women and LGBT+ individuals, who face stigma and barriers to consistent medication. Despite the promising FDA approval anticipated in June, the future of access hinges on global funding, which remains uncertain as U.S. aid reductions threaten to cause millions of additional HIV infections and deaths, undermining efforts to curb the pandemic and highlighting a missed opportunity to finally bring the AIDS crisis to an end. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.